President of the Republic of Finland, Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of Bharat, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you all to this ceremony where we shall witness exchange of several MoUs. India and Finland enjoy a robust partnership with digitization, education, sustainability and innovation as key pillars. The documents being exchanged today reflect our multifaceted bilateral cooperation. We will begin with the exchange of MoU on migration and mobility partnership. This document will be exchanged by His Excellency Mr. Matthias Martinen, Minister of Employment of Finland, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. The next document is the renewed MoU on environmental cooperation. This document will be exchanged by Her Excellency Ms. Sari Multala, Minister of Environment and Climate of Finland, and Shri Kirti Vardhan Singh, Minister of State for External Affairs and Environment, Forests and Climate Change. Next, we have the MoU on bilateral cooperation in the field of official statistics. This document will be exchanged by His Excellency Mr. Kimmo Ladevarta, Ambassador of Finland to India, and Shri Sibi George, Secretary West in the Ministry of External Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the exchange ceremony. I would like to inform that Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the media in Hindi. Members of the audience may use the audio device provided to listen to the translation in English language. I now request the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the rest of the proceedings.
Namaskar, good afternoon. Your Excellency Dr. Alexander Stubb, President of the Republic of Finland, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers, members of both delegations, distinguished guests and friends from the media. We will now have the press statements. May I request Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, to give his remarks to the media.
Your Excellency, President Stubb, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार। 13वें फिनलैंड के राष्ट्रपति के रूप में अपनी पहली भारत यात्रा पर मैं प्रेसिडेंट स्टुब का हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। प्रेसिडेंट स्टुब एक प्रसिद्ध ग्लोबल लीडर ही नहीं, एक सम्मानित थिंकर और लेखक भी हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, आप जैसे अनुभवी और डायनेमिक लीडर का इस वर्ष के रायसीना डायलॉग का चीफ गेस्ट बनना हमारे लिए बहुत सम्मान और खुशी की बात है। फ्रेंड्स, आज विश्व एक अस्थिरता और अनिश्चितता के दौर से गुजर रहा है। यूक्रेन से लेकर वेस्ट एशिया तक दुनिया के कई हिस्से उसमें संघर्ष की स्थिति बनी हुई है। ऐसे ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट में भारत और यूरोप दुनिया की दो बड़ी डिप्लोमेटिक पावर्स अपने संबंधों के सुनहरे दौर में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं। हमारा बढ़ता सहयोग वैश्विक स्थिरता विकास और साझा समृद्धि को नई मजबूती दे रहा है। फ्रेंड, वर्ष 2026 की शुरुआत में ऐतिहासिक भारत यूरोपियन यूनियन फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट हुआ। यह एग्रीमेंट भारत और फिनलैंड के बीच ट्रेड, इन्वेस्टमेंट और टेक्नोलॉजी सहयोग को और प्रबल करेगा। डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और सस्टेनेबिलिटी जैसे क्षेत्रों में भारत और फिनलैंड महत्वपूर्ण साझेदार हैं। नोकिया के मोबाइल फोन और टेलीकॉम नेटवर्क ने करोड़ों भारतीयों को जोड़ा है। फिनलैंड के आर्किटेक्ट के सहयोग से हमने चिनाब नदी पर विश्व का सबसे ऊंचा रेलवे ब्रिज बनाया है। फिनलैंड की साझेदारी से हमने नुमालीगढ़ में दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी बंबू टू बायोएथेनॉल रिफाइनरी भी बनाई है। फ्रेंड, ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण उदाहरणों से प्रेरित होते हुए प्रेसिडेंट स्टूब की इस यात्रा में हम भारत फिनलैंड संबंधों को एक स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप इन डिजिटलाइजेशन एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी का रूप दे रहे हैं। यह पार्टनरशिप एआई से लेकर 6G टेलीकॉम तक, क्लीन एनर्जी से लेकर क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग तक कई हाईटेक क्षेत्रों में हमारे सहयोग को गति और ऊर्जा देगा। साथ ही डिफेंस, स्पेस, सेमीकंडक्टर और क्रिटिकल मिनरल जैसे की सेक्टर्स में भी साझेदारी और गहरी बढ़ेगी। भारत और फिनलैंड जैसे लोकतांत्रिक और जिम्मेदार देशों की यह स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप पूरे विश्व के लिए ट्रस्टवर्दी टेक्नोलॉजी और सप्लाई चेन सुनिश्चित करने में योगदान देगी। फ्रेंड्स, फिनलैंड भारतीय स्टूडेंट्स और टैलेंट के लिए एक प्रीफर्ड डेस्टिनेशन बन रहा है। दोनों देशों के इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम को जोड़ने के लिए आज हमने फिनलैंड के साथ एक व्यापक माइग्रेशन एंड मोबिलिटी एग्रीमेंट किया है। इसके साथ हम जॉइंट रिसर्च और स्टार्टअप सहयोग को भी और मजबूत करने जा रहे हैं। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में फिनलैंड एक रोल मॉडल है। आज हमने टीचर ट्रेनिंग, स्कूल टू स्कूल पार्टनरशिप और फ्यूचर ऑफ एजुकेशन में रिसर्च सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमति बनाई है। यानी स्कूल से लेकर इंडस्ट्री तक हम ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट के हर लेवल पर अपने सहयोग को नई गहराई देने जा रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, फिनलैंड नॉर्डिक क्षेत्र में भारत का महत्वपूर्ण पार्टनर है। हम फिनलैंड के साथ मिलकर आर्कटिक और पोलर रिसर्च में भी सहयोग बढ़ा रहे हैं। एक हेल्दी प्लैनेट हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। हमें बहुत खुशी है कि इस वर्ष फिनलैंड के साथ हम भारत में वर्ल्ड सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी फोरम होस्ट करने जा रहे हैं। इससे सस्टेनेबिलिटी के हमारे प्रयासों को नई गति और नए विचार मिलेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और फिनलैंड दोनों रूल ऑफ लॉ, डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी में विश्वास रखते हैं। हम एकमत है कि केवल मिलिट्री कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से किसी भी मुद्दे का समाधान नहीं निकल सकता। यूक्रेन हो या पश्चिमी एशिया, हम संघर्ष की शीघ्र समाप्ति और शांति के हर प्रयास का समर्थन करते रहेंगे। हम इस बात पर भी सहमत हैं कि बढ़ते हुए ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस के समाधान के लिए ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का रिफॉर्म आवश्यक ही नहीं, अर्जेंट भी है और आतंकवाद के हर रूप को जड़ से समाप्त करना हमारी साझी प्रतिबद्धता है। योर एक्सेलेंसी, आपने आयरनमैन ट्रायथलॉन कंप्लीट की है। हमें विश्वास है कि आप जैसे ऊर्जावान लीडर के साथ मिलकर हम भारत और फिनलैंड के बीच इनोवेशन, डिजिटल और सस्टेनेबिलिटी के एक नए ट्रायथलॉन को भी अचीव करेंगे। आइए भारत फिनलैंड के इस फ्यूचरिस्टिक पार्टनरशिप में एक नए सुनहरे अध्याय की शुरुआत करें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. May I now request His Excellency Dr. Alexander Stubb, President of the Republic of Finland, to give his remarks to the media.
Mr. Prime Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar, terve. As you said, thank you very much for your kind words. Also, thank you for the warm hospitality that you have shown us here. I have to say that I salute your diplomatic skills when you say that we stand here as two big democracies. There is one big and one slightly smaller, but I think the key message is that we share values. I would also like to congratulate you for your leadership. My last visit to India was actually in 2013 in my capacity as Minister of Trade. And the change that I just see on the streets of New Delhi and that I will most probably see in Mumbai in a couple of days is palpable. This is an economic miracle that we're witnessing, and I wish you all the best. Thank you also for welcoming me. I arrived yesterday in the middle of Holi, which was lovely to see. I was able to escape some of the color attacks that were coming at me, but it was a great experience as such. The previous state visit of Finnish head of state, the president, was actually in 1996 with President Martti Ahtisaari, who was very much a man of peace. He won the Nobel Prize of Peace in 2008 and was a great respected leader. Rarely, if ever, have we been in a situation also where we've had a prime minister here 2 weeks ago in the form of Petteri Orpo, and now a president 2 weeks later. India obviously is one of the world's largest and most influential countries and the world's largest democracy. And as we have seen, you are now a key strategic partner for Europe. Its importance in foreign and security policy and trade policies is difficult to overstate. You are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. That we can witness here every day. And what I really respect about your foreign policy is that you've never been under illusions. You've always based your foreign policy on a pragmatic and realistic worldview. You've showed the rest of the world that strategic caution and safeguarding autonomy means a lot, all the while championing multilateralism and global cooperation. And I believe personally that we should all become a little bit more Indian. It's an honor for me to open the Raisina dialogues today together with you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's amazing to see the growth of Raisina. Only in 10 years it's become one of the key set pieces where everyone in the world is listening and watching what is happening at Raisina, not least right now when the world is so turbulent. The world is changing. We are living through a transition in the global order, and India, together with its friends in the global south, will determine the direction in which this order will go. And that is one of the key issues. It's been so fruitful to discuss and understand your approach. Today we discussed security issues in the region. We have conflicts in both regions, in West Asia and also, of course, in Ukraine. And for us, Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine has lasted for too long, 4 years. We agreed that ending the war is in everyone's interests. A lasting peace can only be one that respects the principles of the United Nations. Today, in my speech at Raisina, I will once again call for a change in the multilateral system where the division of labor and power would reflect today's world, and therefore I think a seat in the UN Security Council for India is of utmost importance. We of course also discussed today the relationship between India and the EU, and I have to say that the trade agreement and the strategic partnership that was forged just a little while back between the EU and India is of great significance. When the world is in transition, the United States, Russia, China and many others, the fact that we can have a values and interest-based partnership between the European Union and India is very important. Now, of course, we are also strengthening the relationship between Finland and India. As you just mentioned, we are deepening our dialogue in many sectors, and our goal is to at least double our trade. A good beginning is the fact that we have 20 Finnish companies here who are traveling with me from a wide range of industries, from technology to quantum, to satellites, to networks, to food, and to green tech, which you mentioned. Our dialogue is further strengthened by the fact that we have a very strong Indian community in Finland. I know these numbers don't sound big to you, but for us they are. There are over 20,000 Indians that reside in the capital region of Helsinki and actually in Espoo. A gentle reminder, Finland has a population of 5.6 million, which is a little bit like a suburb in New Delhi. So you have to understand that for us figures are of a different scale. Our Indian friends are a very valued member of our society and contribute significantly to our economy and culture. And it's good to also have the mayor of Espoo here with us today. Finally, I would like to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for our excellent discussion. Anytime you have allotted a short amount for a one-to-one discussion and you run over it extensively, you know that the discussion has to be good, and we really enjoyed that. So sorry to the delegations that we were so late, and thank you once again for your warm hospitality for this state visit. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this session. Thank you for your presence.
Namaskar and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this special press briefing on the ongoing state visit of the President of Finland. For this special press briefing, we have with us Secretary West, Shri C.V. George, and he is assisted in this press briefing by our Ambassador to Finland, Shri Hemant Kotalwar, as also Additional Secretary, North Europe in the Ministry of External Affairs, Srimati Pooja Kapoor. With that, I invite Secretary West to make his opening remarks, after which we'll take questions from the floor. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Rendhir. Good evening to everyone. As you are aware, at the invitation of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, the President of the Republic of Finland, His Excellency Dr. Alexander Stubb, is on a state visit to India from 4 to 7 March this year. This is his first visit to India in his present capacity. The President is accompanied by a high-level ministerial and official delegation, as well as a sizable business delegation. This reflects the importance that both sides attach to trade, business, and investment as key pillars of the bilateral relationship. He joined our Honorable Prime Minister at the inaugural session of the 11th Raisina Dialogue 2026 in New Delhi as the chief guest and also delivered the keynote address a little while ago. President Stubb's visit comes close to the heels of the Finnish Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Petteri Orpo's visit to New Delhi for the AI Impact Summit in February this year. Prime Minister Orpo had also met our Prime Minister on the margins of the summit. The India-Nordic Summit has also provided an opportunity to the leaders of both the countries to remain engaged. Our Prime Ministers met in 2018 and 2022 on the margins of the first and second India-Nordic Summit in Stockholm and Copenhagen, respectively. President Stubb and Prime Minister Modi have remained in close, constant touch last year. The two leaders met on the margins of the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg in October 2025. They also spoke telephonically at least on 2 occasions last year. During their meetings today, Prime Minister Modi and President Stubb have elevated India-Finland bilateral relationship to a strategic partnership in digitalization and sustainability. President Stubb arrived in New Delhi on 4th March and was accorded a ceremonial guard reception at the airport. Today, he met Rashtrapati Ji at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Prime Minister Modi and President Stubb held wide-ranging discussions at Hyderabad House in restricted as well as delegation-level formats. They covered all aspects of bilateral relationship as well as regional and global developments of mutual interest. Prime Minister Modi hosted a luncheon in honor of the President. Our Honorable Vice President and External Affairs Minister also called on President Stubb today. On 6 March, he will travel to Mumbai, where he will meet Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, interact with the business leaders and participate in India-Finland business event. He will also address the students at the University of Mumbai. India and Finland enjoy warm and friendly relationship. Over the decades, our relationship has evolved into a forward-looking, innovation and technology-driven partnership. Finnish companies have strong presence in India in areas such as telecommunications, digital solutions, clean energy, and smart manufacturing. Bilateral trade in goods and services is close to $3 billion. Trade and investment are expected to expand further with the coming in force of the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. In this respect, we have also agreed to double the trade by 2030. As you know, digitalization is an important aspect of our bilateral relationship. Finland's advanced capabilities in digital innovation align well with India's digital transformation initiatives. In this regard, the two sides have established a cross-sectoral joint working group on digitalization to advance cooperation in new and emerging technologies such as 5G and 6G, quantum communications, high performance and quantum computing, artificial intelligence, etc. A joint task force, 6G, has also been created to further expand the collaboration in this emerging field. At the same time, Finland's globally recognized expertise in clean technologies, renewable energy, and sustainable urban solutions makes it a natural partner for India. India and Finland will also be co-hosting the World Circular Economy Forum in India later this year. During the visit, both sides have reviewed and renewed the MoU on environmental cooperation to further the collaboration on sustainability and circular economy, including bioenergy and waste-to-energy solutions, power storage, green hydrogen, as well as wind, solar, and small hydropower. Science, technology, and innovation are key pillars of India-Finland cooperation. The two sides have agreed for joint research goals under implementation arrangement between Department of Science and Technology of India and Business Finland. It would advance research collaboration in areas such as renewable energy, smart cities, hydrogen technologies, waste management, electric vehicles, carbon capture, 5G, 6G, AI, microelectronics and power electronics, etc. The two sides have also signed an MoU on migration and mobility partnership. It is expected to facilitate mobility of talent, including professionals, students, entrepreneurs, researchers, and academics. It also expected to provide enhanced access for Indian students, including internships and post-study employment opportunities. Considering the importance of cooperation in consular matters, the two sides have agreed to commence negotiations on extradition treaty and mutual legal assistance treaty and establish a consular dialogue between the respective foreign ministries. Both sides are also committed to promoting free, open, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific in accordance with the international law, including UNCLOS. In this regard, Finland have expressed interest to join the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, which is welcomed by India. We also agreed to have cooperation in the Arctic-related areas. Finnish reiterated its support to India's fight against terrorism, including cross-border terrorism. To conclude, this visit of President Stubb, coming soon after the India-EU summit, during which we announced the conclusion of the India-EU FTA, underscores the strong momentum in bilateral as well as India-EU relations. It reflects our strong commitment to both our partnership with the European Union and as a whole, and deeper bilateral engagement with its member states. In this context, Finland is a valued partner with whom we aim to expand cooperation in key sectors of mutual interest. The visit focused on 3 T's: trade, technology, and talent. Trade anchors our economic partnership. Technology advances collaboration in digitalization and sustainability, and talent connects our societies through mobility. These priorities align with our Prime Minister's vision of Vikasit Bharat 2047, with Finland's strengths in innovation, sustainability, and education, making it a natural partner for India. This has been a very substantive and productive visit. The discussions have helped set clear directions for India-Finland cooperation in the near and medium term. I'll stop here. We would be very happy to take questions. Thank you.
Floor is open. Akhilesh.
Sir, I am Akhilesh Suman from Doordarshan News. Finland is also an Arctic country. So did we talk anything about how we are going to cooperate on Arctic issues?
Siddhant.
Sir, Siddhant from WION. So how much there was a conversation on the war in West Asia? We saw the Prime Minister making his remarks. If you can perhaps elaborate on that.
Keshav.
Thank you, sir. Keshav Padmanabhan from The Print. I just went through the joint statement, and of the 46 paragraphs, there's not one mention of the situation in West Asia. So I just want to echo the question on what were the international issues that were discussed, and with specific reference to the conflict, as my colleague Siddhant earlier asked, what did the two leaders sort of discuss, and was there any outcome or an understanding between them on how this situation has to be resolved? Thank you.
Please. Abhishek.
Abhimanyu from CNBC TV 18. Sir, my question is that were supply chains discussed as far as strengthening of supply chains is concerned, as my two colleagues earlier also asked about the current disruptions which are taking place in West Asia. Any disruption of supply chains or any mitigation measures which have been discussed?
Ayanksha, you have a question?
So this is Ayanksha Maitra. So is it possible to elaborate the last T from the 3 T's? The talent, and if it's possible, India, is a base of over 800 million cell phone bases, which, the Finnish companies, one of the Finnish mobile manufacturer marbled the technology. So is there any discussions on Indian players making cell phones, high-tech cell phones? Thank you.
So we can take these questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much. On the question on Arctic, if you look at the joint statement, you will see that there is a full paragraph on the cooperation in the Arctic related. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthening cooperation and dialogue on Arctic matters, including through joint research initiatives, academic exchanges, and capacity building programs. They took note of the first India-Finland Arctic dialogue, which was held in Finland, the Himalayan and Arctic ecosystems. That was the name of the dialogue which was held in Finland, which brought together parliamentarians, government officials, academics, and experts to deliberate on strategies and pathways for deepening collaboration on Arctic matters. Both leaders also underscored the importance of advancing cooperation in the structures of the Arctic Council within the broader framework of India-Nordic Summit, which would be held later this year. So cooperation and dialogue on Arctic matters was an important element of the discussions held, and it is covered in the joint statement. Moving on to the question related to West Asia and the other conflict situation. Of course, both the leaders discussed issues of interest to both India and Finland and Europe. The current evolving situation in West Asia was discussed by the leaders. As far as we are concerned, our spokesperson has already issued a couple of statements on the current situation in West Asia. I would refer you to look at those statements. We have also expressed our deep concern and called for restraint and de-escalation. On the other conflict situation is, of course, related to the developments in Ukraine conflict was also discussed. Again, on that, you are aware of India's position, which has been articulated well by our leadership on several occasions. So the leaders had discussions on these conflict situations. Moving on to the question on supply chain resilience, disruption of supply chains. Yes, if you look at India-EU relations, in the last 2 years, one of the important topic of discussion was to see how to build a supply chain resilience. When it is disrupted, it affects the economy of all the countries in the world, including us. We have seen it happening during conflict situations in the past. We see it happening now. So how to strengthen, how to build resilience in supply chain is an important topic of discussion in the meetings that we held, and this was also discussed in the meetings here today. Now, the question related to 3 T's. The third T which I was referring to was talent. It is related to mobility. If you look at India has the largest young population in the world. And in the last few years, government has been taking steps to skill them. That skilled manpower of India is an asset to the world. So that is the talent. So when we talk about talent, we have already signed an MoU on mobility, MMPA we have signed, which is an important step in connecting the talent of India with the opportunities available in other countries. So this is an important step which was taken during this meeting. So I'm sure that it would help the youth of India to find employment opportunities in other countries, including in Finland. As you know, we already have 33,000 Indians in Finland, and most of them are young, working in the IT sector and in other high-end technology sector. So this is further, this opportunity will be, there will be further opportunities with this MMPA which we have signed today. On the telecommunication side, you want to say something? There was yeah. The ambassador will respond.
Yeah, on the question of mobile phone that you mentioned, so of course the Finnish company Nokia is very well known in India, but as you are aware, over the last decade, Nokia has moved away from making mobile phones to making the networking equipment. In fact, if we see the 5G equipment that has been used by Indian cell phone providers, it's basically coming from Nokia. Of course, certain patents that were there of Nokia, so there some startups have come out in Finland, and one of the startup has already started manufacturing in India. But it's at a very small scale, not like the old Nokia phone.
We still have questions, so we'll go here first. Uma.
मेरा क्वेश्चन थोड़ा अलग हटकर है, क्योंकि फिनलैंड जो है वो हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स में पिछले 7-8 सालों से नंबर 1 पे चल रहा है. तो क्या वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस, जो कि आप लोगों का भी आजकल ठीक नहीं चल रहा, तो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस और कैसे हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स में हम अपने देश को ऊपर लेके आए, इस मुद्दे पे कोई बातचीत हुई?
Kadambini Sharma, independent journalist. Sir, while having this conversation about reforms in the UN, was there any change in required parameters or understanding, given that UNSC members, 2 members, have undermined the UN like never before?
Okay. Keshav, you have a question?
Just a clarification to my previous question. So thank you again for this. I just had a clarification. I just wanted to understand why, how in the joint statement no mention of West Asia when the conflict is ongoing is made, when there is a clear reference to the war in Ukraine. So was there a reason why West Asia was left out of this statement, sir? Thank you.
Sir, mine is also a small clarification on whether essential imports of oil, gas and many other commodities, whether that issue was also discussed for both the economies and also for both India as well as the EU.
What is that question? Yeah.
Sir, if you can respond to these questions.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much. Yes, you are right, absolutely right. Finland has been on the top in the happiest country index, life, work balance, etc., etc. There are several factors. In fact, this was also referred to by the President in his address today at the Raisina, correct?
Yes. And also in the press statement.
And also in his press statement. But he also said one more thing. He said that India, in optimism index, India is the top country. His experience having visited India and having watched India, India is a country where people think that tomorrow would be a better day for us, for each one of us. That is where, I'm adding to that. That is where our vision comes. We are a country which has a vision. 2047, Vikasit Bharat. We are in that Amrit Kal journey. That is the vision. So I could see that when happiest index and optimism index, there is a very clear convergence. And when we work with Finland closely, I think we would be able to develop India into also as a happiest country. Thank you. Let me move to next question on UNSC, a very important question. Of course, reform of UN and United Nations and other international institutions have always been a priority for India, and the President in his address and also in his meetings highlighted the importance of having India to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. On your question about UN getting undermined, it is very important that the reform of the UN takes place. UN, unfortunately, is stuck in the past. The reality, the geopolitical reality, geoeconomic reality of today is not getting reflected in the United Nations. So there is an understanding, there is a growing understanding among all the countries there is need for UN Security Council reforms, UN reforms, and also reform of other international institutions. Have we reached there? No, we haven't reached there at all. So there is a long way to go, but the support for the reforms is growing, and today the President has again reiterated his support for India to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Thank you. Moving to the West Asia, I thought I covered that already. It was discussed in the meetings which our leaders have held today, and it's an evolving situation. Our spokesperson has already issued a couple of statements on that. I would refer to that. I also would like to mention that there is a statement by Indian Navy as well today, no?
Yeah, there's a press release by the Indian Navy which you can also have a look.
Import of oil, gas, economy, again, our position on this have been well articulated by the leadership in the past, by Foreign Secretary recently, also in his press conferences, so I will leave it at that. We are monitoring the developments very closely. Thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence. We come to the close of this press briefing. Thank you. Namaskar and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this special press briefing by Secretary East, Shri P. Kumran, on the ongoing state visit of the President of Brazil, His Excellency Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. For this press briefing, we are also joined by our Ambassador to Brazil, Shri Dinesh Bhatia, as also by Joint Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs who looks after Brazil, Shri K. Praful Chandra Sharma. With that, I hand over the floor to Secretary East. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining for this briefing on the state visit of the President of Brazil, His Excellency Lula da Silva, to India. As you know, he arrived in India on 18th February 2026, and during the period 19th and 20th February, he participated in the India AI Impact Summit. Today, he was given a traditional welcome in the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. He, along with 11 ministers, met Prime Minister and his delegation at Hyderabad House. This is President Lula's 5th visit to India as President of Brazil. The visit comes 7 months after the state visit of PM to Brasilia on 8th of July 2025. President Lula had earlier visited India in 2004 as guest of honor for the Republic Day, in 2007 and again in 2008 to attend the IBSA summit, and in September 2023 for the G20 summit. He had also visited India in 2012 to receive the Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development, but he did not hold office at that time. India holds the presidency of BRICS this year, and Brazil is an important strategic partner and a key member of BRICS. During the meeting today at Hyderabad House, PM and President Lula held bilateral conversations and exchanged views on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest, including cooperation in multilateral fora, the need to reform global governance, and matters of importance to the Global South. Prime Minister Modi hosted a lunch in honor of the visiting dignitary. The state visit gave the leaders an opportunity to review the entire gamut of our partnership, including trade and investments, oil and gas, renewable energy, mining and critical minerals, defense and security, agriculture and livestock, healthcare and traditional medicine, tourism, space, science and technology, including digital public infrastructure, as well as people-to-people relations. The visit is a significant milestone in India-Brazil strategic relations and would add renewed momentum to our strategic partnership elevated in 2006. On the trade front, India's bilateral trade with Brazil is the largest compared to any other country in South America. It currently stands at $15.21 billion. In July 2025, the two leaders had set a bilateral trade target of $20 billion by 2030. However, today, the two leaders agreed that the trade should at least double to $30 billion by 2030. India enjoys a trade surplus of about $1.5 billion with Brazil, with our exports totaling about $6.7 billion against imports of about $5.4 billion. During the meeting, the leaders also discussed ways to strengthen and diversify bilateral trade, including through expansion of the India-Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement, which currently covers 450 tariff lines. India and Brazil, along with other Mercosur countries, have agreed to significantly and substantially expand the PTA. Both leaders also discussed ways to facilitate market access and address the relevant tariff and non-tariff barriers. India and Brazil are strong and vocal proponents of South-South cooperation. Both countries collaborate closely across global platforms, including in BRICS, G20, IBSA, and the United Nations. We also collaborate as members of G4, seeking comprehensive reform of the UN Security Council. Several bilateral MoUs were signed. We have a full statement, a joint statement, which lists out the various MoUs that were signed. Principally, they relate to the MoUs between FICCI, India, and Apex Brazil, between Whale Group and Tata, Fiocruz and Biocon Pharma, and Unica, Brazil Sugarcane Industries Association, and Indian Sugar and Bioenergy Manufacturing Association. President Lula also appreciated the revival of the Business Leaders Forum, and he also met with Indian business leaders. Thank you very much.
We open the floor now. Shall we start from here? Huma?
Sir, I'm Huma Siddiqui from Stat News Global. I have two questions. One, you talked about the expansion of the India-Mercosur PTA, and we already have 450 tariff lines. So have you decided how many more lines can be added to that? And in the defense and security, was the draft for joining the Scorpion Club discussed?
Sorry, I missed the last part.
Sir, Rishikesh from PTI. So both the countries have signed this pact on critical minerals. So has any specific target been fixed for importing minerals from Brazil? And my second question is, did the two leaders also discuss broader uncertainty in the US trade policy?
Kadambini?
Kadambini Sharma, independent journalist. Sir, given the context of US Supreme Court decision yesterday, was there any conversation regarding this? And if there was any talk about BRICS currency moving forward?
Brahm Prakash?
सर ब्रह्म प्रकाश दुबे जी न्यूज़ से मेरा सवाल है जो दोनों नेताओं के बीच ग्लोबल इश्यूज पर डिस्कशन हुआ है तो क्या उसमें यूएन के सुधार को लेकर भी कोई चर्चा हुई क्योंकि लगातार अभी यूरोप में भी कहा जा रहा है कि यूएन फेल रहा है वर्ल्ड के जो प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करने में तो इसको लेकर क्या चर्चा हुई सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में दावेदारी को लेकर भी क्या चर्चा हुई थैंक यू
Sir, we can take these questions.
Sure. Thank you very much. On the India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement, we still haven't reached any, there have been a few rounds of discussions held, and we're still discussing which areas can be opened up. There are sensitivities on both sides when it comes to agriculture, some industries that need protection on both sides, according to national priorities on either side. So we don't have any details on which are the lines that are being opened up or how many lines are being opened up, but there's still early days. And currently, the pro tempore presidency of Mercosur is with Paraguay, and Paraguay will lead negotiations for the next 6 months. So we are waiting for further details on how this proceeds. But there is a strong determination of all the Mercosur members, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay, to take this forward and find ways to enhance trade, because all are very keen on diversification of trade partnerships and also to enhance resilience in our supply chains. On the Scorpene submarine maintenance cooperation, we had signed an MoU. Mazagon Docks Limited and the two navies have signed a tripartite MoU, and work will start on the basis of that MoU. There was a reference to that when the two leaders spoke today. We will be awaiting further details on how exactly this is going to proceed, but clearly this is an area of interest and a big opportunity for us to cooperate. Critical minerals MoU. President Lula gave a very detailed presentation on Brazil's substantial critical minerals and rare earth reserves. He said only 30% of their reserves have been explored, and that there is substantial scope for exploration, processing minerals, and also using them. He said Brazil would value India's partnership in the area of critical minerals. So we will be taking this forward by discussing with the concerned line ministries about how to engage in practical cooperation in this regard. Yes, there was a discussion on the U.S. trade policy and the implications of the U.S. Supreme Court judgment. Both leaders agreed that it's a rather new development and that both sides need to study the implications of this and wait for further developments by the U.S. administration. So we will essentially be in a wait and watch mode to see how the administration responds to this judgment and whether any further steps are taken, and to study the implications for our trade. You asked about BRICS currency. There is no discussion about a BRICS currency. In fact, President Lula had said this in his interview yesterday to India Today. There is interest in trying to have some trade on the basis of local currency settlements. But there is no discussion for a BRICS currency. And I think President Lula had clarified this in ample detail yesterday. So I would refer you to that also. UN reform, आपने UN सुधार के बारे में पूछा. ये हमेशा ही काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट रहता है इंडिया ब्राज़ील के डिस्कशंस में. हम लोग दोनों G4 फोरम के मेंबर्स हैं, इंडिया, ब्राज़ील, जर्मनी और जापान. हम लोग एक दूसरे के परमानेंट मेंबरशिप कैंडिडेट्स को सपोर्ट करते हैं और UN में हमारे एफर्ट्स कोऑर्डिनेटेड रहते हैं ताकि हम रिफॉर्म को इस डायरेक्शन में प्रोपेल करें कि हमारे मेंबरशिप के इशू को सपोर्ट मिले. प्रेसिडेंट लूला इस बार भी उसी सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर उन्होंने बात किया और मल्टीलैटरलिज्म, WTO और यूनाइटेड नेशंस के रिलेटेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस इंक्लूडिंग WHO, उन सबको स्ट्रेंथन करने के लिए इंडिया के साथ काम करने के लिए उन्होंने काफ़ी इंटरेस्ट एक्सप्रेस किया.
बोल दिया इन्होंने, अब देख लेंगे, बात कर लेंगे. Sudhi, you have a question?
Sir, thank you. Sir, Shruti from Bloomberg. Sir, a little bit more explanation on the discussions on the US judgment, if you could give us for our understanding, sir.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything on that subject. All that was agreed upon was that it is too early and that there is a 10% tariff that President Trump has announced in his press conference yesterday. Now, which are the tariffs that remain, which are the tariffs that go away, all that is being studied in detail by our Commerce Ministry. All that was agreed upon was that these are all very fast-moving developments. It came in late last night, and it was agreed that we will wait and watch and see what exactly it means for our trade.
Mm-hmm. Any discussion on coordinating positions on this that the leaders discussed?
We have not even reached that stage. You know, I see where you're getting at with this, but as of now, they said, let's wait and watch. Any decision on coordination can happen once we study the implications for both our trades and then see how to take it forward.
नीरज
सर नमस्कार, मैं नीरज दुबे प्रभा साक्षी से हूं। सर, अगले 5 वर्षों में द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $20 बिलियन से आगे ले जाने के लिए कौन से प्रमुख सेक्टरों को प्राथमिकता देने पर सहमति हुई है और क्या दोनों देश व्यापार में स्थानीय मुद्राओं के उपयोग पर भी विचार कर रहे हैं?
Keep it short. Huh?
Vanakkam, Excellency, this is Anangsha Mitra. My first question would be, there are new interests beyond the obvious, like beyond the chickens and sugars, like yerba mate and something like macadamia nuts. It's a variant of the ranks. If you kindly explain those sort of opportunities, and is there any opportunity for India and Brazil to facilitate a third country's trade and vice versa? Thank you.
So we can take these questions.
Sure. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we had set a target during PM's visit to Brazil for increasing bilateral trade from 15 billion to 20 billion by 2030. But President Lula today mentioned to PM that 20 billion doesn't seem ambitious enough and that we should therefore try and target something higher like 30 billion by 2030. And he said with the kind of excitement and interest there is on both sides. He said, I brought 11 ministers with me and 300 businessmen. It shows the kind of commitment there is to enhancing India-Brazil trade and investment. So he said our ambition should be much bigger. The number of areas identified is in great detail in the joint statement. I would, for example, name energy, oil and gas sector, space, opportunities to launch Brazilian satellites, work together to build satellites. There is a lot of cooperation possible in the area of bioenergy, biofuels, sustainable aviation fuel, green economy, agriculture and livestock, healthcare, traditional medicine. Yoga is also a subject of great interest in Brazil. There is a lot of interest in Brazil on some of our DPI platforms, whether it is linking our payment systems with theirs or using UPI for agriculture, for education, or for healthcare. There are some of our NGOs, DPI related NGOs that are working with Brazilian counterparts to try and develop DPIs that Brazilians are interested in. Pharmaceuticals is another big area. Vaccines, artificial intelligence, again, very topical subject. President Lula suggested that we try and integrate AI into DPI platforms to try and maximize utilization of DPI platforms and using the data very effectively to drive policy initiatives. So there is a lot of mining and critical minerals we already spoke about, defense, aircraft. An MoU with Embraer was signed and President Lula pointed out that they will set up an assembly line or a production line for Embraer to manufacture regional jets in India. PM also asked for Embraer to set up an MRO, maintenance, repair and overhaul facility. We are also talking about enhancing market access for agricultural products on either side. There were some crops that were named as areas where market access and tariff adjustments were suggested. But it's still too early. We will get into discussions and negotiations on how exactly to identify areas where we can mutually liberalize trade and open up each other's market. But I would suggest that we wait for details from the Ministry of Commerce.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this press conference. Thank you very much for your attendance and presence. Namaste and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this press briefing on the visit of the Prime Minister of Canada. We have with us Secretary East, Shri P. Kumaran, and he's assisted by Shri Nagaraj Naidu, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, for this briefing. With that, I hand over the floor to Secretary East. Sir.
Well, good afternoon, friends. It's a pleasure to talk to you again. The Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Mark Carney, will shortly be successfully concluding his official visit to India from 27th of February to 2nd of March 2026. This was his first visit to India since assuming office and the first bilateral visit by a Canadian Prime Minister in 8 years. The visit marks an important inflection point in the India-Canada relationship. Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit commenced with a 2-day program in Mumbai. The Mumbai leg was primarily business-oriented and aimed at catalyzing investment flows, deepening financial linkages, and expanding innovation partnerships between the two countries. Prime Minister Carney held extensive interactions with Indian business leaders, CEOs, innovators, educators, and representatives of leading Canadian pension funds. These discussions were essentially focused on bilateral investment flows, strengthening collaboration in clean energy, critical minerals, infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing. It also related to partnerships in education, skills and research, and expanding capital market linkages and long-term institutional investments. Prime Minister Carney delivered the keynote address at the Canada-India Growth and Investment Forum in Mumbai, where he described his visit as the beginning of a renewed and ambitious Canada-India partnership after 8 years without a bilateral prime ministerial visit. He also emphasized the importance of diversification, trusted partnerships, and strategic autonomy rather than isolation. He stressed the need to conclude negotiations on an ambitious, comprehensive economic partnership agreement, CEPA, with the objective of doubling bilateral trade by 2030. Overall, the Mumbai leg of the visit set a strong economic and innovation-driven tone for the broader bilateral engagement, laying the foundation for substantive outcomes during the Delhi segment of the visit. Before I come to the Delhi leg, I just wanted to mention that over the past year, both sides have worked steadily to stabilize and normalize the relationship. This visit has taken that process forward decisively, moving the partnership from normalization to structured expansion. Earlier today, the Prime Ministers held wide-ranging and constructive discussions. They reaffirmed their shared commitment to rebuild strategic trust, strengthen institutional cooperation, and anchor the relationship in mutual respect, sovereignty, and democratic values. As far as the deliverables for the visit are concerned, we have a joint statement which is comprehensive in scope and forward-looking in ambition, and a number of MoUs in the G2G, education and research, and B2B domains. We have brought out a fact sheet to capture the deliverables. Both of these are available on MEA's website. The leaders' joint statement articulates a structured vision for the renewed India-Canada strategic partnership, anchored in the guiding principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. In that sense, the joint statement provides a long-term framework, political, economic, technological, and strategic, to guide bilateral engagement over the coming decade. It signals not just normalization, but renewed ambition. The visit delivered concrete outcomes across 5 pillars. Number 1 was the agreement on a durable economic anchor through the launch of CEPA. The signing of the terms of reference for a CEPA provides a clear roadmap to conclude an ambitious, balanced, and mutually beneficial agreement by the end of 2026. To sustain the momentum, the India-Canada CEO Forum has been reconstituted and met today in New Delhi a short while ago. A new finance minister's economic and financial dialogue has been launched. Both sides agreed on reciprocal ministerial-led trade and investment engagements to unlock commercial opportunities. Beyond government-to-government outcomes, the visit witnessed substantial commercial announcements and investment commitments across a wide range of sectors, including pharmaceuticals and life sciences, agri-food processing, clean technology and water infrastructure, financial services and fintech, advanced manufacturing, hospitality, and digital innovation. These announcements reflect growing confidence among businesses in both markets and underscore the depth of two-way investment flows. The reciprocal investment pattern signals that the partnership is increasingly anchored in real economic integration rather than episodic transactions. Notably, investments span next-generation sectors such as regenerative medicine, AI-enabled banking platforms, cybersecurity, clean energy technologies, and advanced industrial solutions. The scale and diversity of these commercial engagements demonstrate that the normalization process has already begun translating into tangible economic outcomes. Energy cooperation emerged as a defining pillar of this visit. The leaders advanced a comprehensive strategic energy partnership spanning civil nuclear cooperation, including all aspects of the reactor value chain, critical minerals, conventional energy trade, and clean and renewable energy transitions. A major milestone is the conclusion of a long-term uranium supply agreement. The signing of the MoUs on critical minerals and renewable energy cooperation will also help build resilient supply chains and accelerate clean energy deployment. Canada's decision to join the International Solar Alliance and upgrade its participation in the Global Biofuel Alliance to a full member further deepens convergence in global clean energy platforms. People-to-people ties remain the bedrock of the relationship. Education and research collaboration prominently featured in the visit, reflecting the central role of talent mobility in the India-Canada partnership. The visit saw the expansion of structured academic partnerships across artificial intelligence, hydrogen research, digital agriculture, climate resilient farming, nursing education, and innovation ecosystems. These institutional linkages move beyond traditional student flows and instead focus on co-creation of knowledge, joint research, dual degree pathways, and industry integrated training. Taken together, these initiatives signal a shift from volume-driven student mobility to structured, innovation-led academic collaboration aligned with emerging sectors and workforce needs in both countries. A joint talent and innovation strategy will provide a structured framework for two-way mobility, skills development, and research collaboration. An MoU on cultural cooperation and Canada's participation in Bharat Tribal Festival 2026 also reinforce the societal and civilizational dimension. The leaders agreed to relaunch the Joint Science and Technology Cooperation Committee, creating a renewed institutional platform for collaboration in critical and emerging technologies. They advanced work under the Australia-Canada-India Technology and Innovation Partnership and agreed to develop a structured work plan in AI and digital technologies. Space cooperation will also be elevated as both sides approach the 30th anniversary of the CSA-ISRO MoU signed in 2026. On security cooperation, the leaders welcomed progress under the National Security Level Dialogue and agreed on a shared work plan covering counterterrorism, organized crime, cybercrime, and immigration enforcement. The India-Canada Defense Dialogue will be institutionalized at the Joint Secretary or Director General level. These steps signal a maturing and institutionalized security engagement. Finally, both leaders reaffirmed their shared commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. India supported Canada's interest in joining the Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA, as a dialogue partner. There is growing convergence between India's vision for the IOR and Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, particularly in the areas of sustainable development, climate resilience, maritime cooperation, and infrastructure. In sum, Prime Minister Carney's visit has 1. Consolidated normalization, 2. Restored strategic direction, 3. Institutionalized economic and security dialogues, and positioned the partnership towards long-term expansion. India and Canada have agreed to structure their renewed strategic partnership around shared prosperity, trusted technology ecosystems, energy security, talent mobility, and Indo-Pacific cooperation. The relationship has clearly moved beyond turbulence into a more stable and forward-looking phase. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We now open the floor for questions. Please keep your questions focused on the visit. That's a request. We start from Robin.
I'm Ravinder Singh. Sir, I'm Ravinder Singh, Robin, freelance journalist. So my question is regarding, have both countries are moving towards with full diplomatic strength in respective high commissions, and are the staffing level coming up with the earlier understanding?
Siddhant.
Hi, sir. Siddhant from WION. Sir, India has always had concerns of criminals getting space in Canada, and this is also related to the process of allowing these criminals into Canada, looking into their system. How much that has been a concern and how much that has been raised with the Canadian side?
Abhishek.
Sir, Abhishek Jha, independent journalist. Sir, did the two leaders also share their views on the current ongoing crisis in Iran?
Kadambini.
कादम्बिनी शर्मा, इंडिपेंडेंट जर्नलिस्ट। सर, भारत कई वर्षों से ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम में शामिल जो अपराधी हैं, यहाँ से गलत तरीके से, लीगल तरीके से गए हुए हैं, उनकी फहरिस्त देता रहा है। तो क्या इस पर उनके एक्सट्रेडिशन वगैरह पर कोई बात हुई है स्पेसिफिकली?
Keshav.
Sir, good evening. Keshav Padmanabhan from The Print. Yes, sir. My question is with regards to the security component of the dialogue, because the NSA had agreed to set up liaison officers earlier. So is there anything specific discussed with regards to this component of the ties, given how we've now seen new allegations coming out of Indian officials in the Vancouver consulate being behind or linked to the killing of Nigerian Canadian media that came out earlier today in the morning. So was this discussed?
So we have a couple of questions, if you can address them.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. Let me start with the question on diplomatic staff strength in the mission and consulates. Yes, this has been discussed during various dialogues at various levels, and there is broad agreement that we should be increasing diplomatic strength on both sides progressively to reach their levels in the past. We are already in the process of doing that. You would have seen that the High Commissioners have returned to their positions. We have a High Commissioner in our mission in Canada, and similarly, the Canadian mission is headed now by a High Commissioner. Let me tell you that the numbers are currently at levels better than what we had in 2023. And we continue to take steps to take this to the next level in keeping with the expanded agenda and ambition. And we are taking this on a step-by-step basis. The second one was about criminals getting space in Canada. Let me try and give you some broader context on the current security cooperation between Canada and India. Based on the guidance provided by the leaders, we had the meeting between the national security advisors of the two countries in Delhi on 18th September 2025, and for a second time again on 7th February 2026 in Ottawa. The two sides acknowledged progress on initiatives aimed at supporting the safety and security of their countries and the citizens. It was also agreed to continue senior official level discussions on security and law enforcement cooperation. Let me also highlight that we have a JWG on counterterrorism. We have a consular dialogue mechanism in place that addresses all issues, including extradition, lookout circular notices, etc. We will be holding the next edition of the consular dialogue sometime in the coming months. At the meeting held on 6th of February, both sides agreed to a shared work plan to guide bilateral cooperation on national security and law enforcement issues, and to enable practical collaboration on the respective priorities. It was also agreed that each country would establish security and law enforcement liaison officers to build on working relationships, streamline bilateral communications, and enable timely information sharing on issues of mutual interest to Canada and India, including issues such as illegal flow of drugs, particularly fentanyl precursors and transnational organized criminal networks. On Iran crisis, yes, as you would expect, this is a hot issue right now, and therefore it was discussed. Prime Minister took the opportunity to convey that India is deeply concerned at the recent developments in Iran and the Gulf region in general. He said, we have urged all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation, and prioritize the safety of civilians. He also said dialogue and diplomacy should be pursued to de-escalate tensions and address the underlying issues. The sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states must be mentioned. Our missions in the region, of course, are in touch with Indian nationals and their and various community associations, and have issued advisories asking them to remain vigilant, stay in contact with the missions, and follow local security guidance. You would have also seen the statement by our spokesperson on this issue earlier. On the global mail allegations, the one that you mentioned, which appeared earlier today, you would have already seen this statement issued by our spokesperson. I would refer you to that. Thank you. Yeah. सॉरी आपने एक्सट्रेडिशन के बारे में पूछा था. एक्सट्रेडिशन जैसे कि मैंने पहले रेफ़र किया था, कॉन्सुलर डायलॉग में रेगुलरली डिस्कस होते हैं. दी एक्सट्रेडिशन टीम्स दोनों तरफ से उनकी लास्ट मीटिंग हुई थी दिल्ली में 19th of September 2025. उसमें एक्सचेंज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन हुआ था on all pending extradition and mutual legal assistance cases. And that's a continuing process, and हम determined है कि इस process को हम actively follow up करेंगे.
We have more questions. Okay. Rishabh, you had a question?
So one clarification on the diplomatic strength. This is Rishabh from Times Now. When the first set of Canadian diplomats were asked to leave India, it was on the basis of parity. So are we still working on the parity of diplomats on both the sides, A? And B, when it comes to Globe and Mail, while the reset ties are on, have we raked up this issue with Canada about this unnamed source-based infos that are being reported in media?
Manas?
This is Manas from PTI. I just wanted to know the broad kind of contours of the two significant agreements that both the sides inked today. One is on the critical minerals partnership, and the second is on the uranium sourcing agreement. So will you please, in fact, explain the overall kind of ambit of these two very significant agreements? Thank you.
Okay. Archis?
So on SIPA, is there a a deadline for concluding negotiations? What are the next steps? If you can elaborate a bit.
Suhasini?
On the nuclear cooperation agreement for the supply of uranium, we had exactly this agreement signed between 2015 and 2020, yet no Canadian uranium actually was supplied to India at the time. What gives you confidence that there will actually be any kind of uranium supply on this occasion? And I do have to ask on this Globe and Mail, but it's not just the Globe and Mail, but the National Post in Canada also carries a statement from the CSIS that says that its assessment that India is taking part in transnational repression, is involved in foreign intervention, remains. The question again is one of trust. Does the Indian government trust that the Canadian government will continue in this case in a manner that does not embarrass us? Once again, they have named specific officials. They've named the Consul General there in Vancouver. They've named what they call an RNAW agent. So I just wanted to get a real reaction. Instead of all the joint working groups are discussing this issue, but the response on what these revelations mean being given on a day when the two prime ministers are meeting. Thank you.
Sumita?
Hi, sir. This is Sumita from ET Now. To your point about investment commitments across agri-food processing, would you be able to suggest what's the overall scope of these investments? And I have another question, if you could answer. What percentage of India's current uranium requirements will be met via this agreement that's been signed?
So we can take these questions.
Sure. Well, thank you. About the staff strengths question again. Look, staff strengths normally depend on needs on both sides, the size of the consular demand on both sides, and of course, based on a step-by-step approach that we've agreed on in terms of normalizing staff strengths. So it is, like I said, a continuing process, and we will be going back to the normal numbers in a step-by-step approach. We'll take it as it comes. The second question was about the unnamed source in the Global Mail report. Like I said, I have nothing more to add to what our spokesperson has said earlier today. And we will probably leave it at that, apart from the broad reiteration of my earlier point that the governments are in touch at various levels. There is an ongoing security dialogue. There is a legal process that is ongoing which will hopefully deal with all aspects concerned. I think Additional Secretary XP has provided detailed briefings on this issue in the past. There's nothing new or exciting to add right now on that. Critical minerals, uranium sourcing was something that you'd asked, and of course, it was linked to another question on what gives confidence that the nuclear agreement or the fuel sourcing agreement will work this time. Prime Minister Kani underlined at least thrice during his interactions with the Prime Minister today that Canada is determined to be a reliable and stable partner for India in terms of sourcing various products. And one of the pillars, like I mentioned, is also clean energy. There is a broad commitment on both sides to try and work together on clean energy. And as I mentioned, apart from a few other topics, nuclear fuel supplies, the kind of reactors, small modular reactors and advanced conventional reactors. There is also a commitment to work together on all parts of the reactor value chain. I would try and place all this in the context of the turbulence geopolitically in the world right now. Canada clearly sees value in cooperating in India at this point of time. For their own reasons, it works for us, it works for them. And we clearly are interested in diversifying all kinds of clean energy that we can access. The Prime Minister actually told Prime Minister Kani that we have set a target of 100 gigawatts for nuclear energy for the next few years by 2030. In fact, and Prime Minister Kani said they would be very glad to be partners in that journey together to work with us and ensure that, among other things, nuclear fuel is also available. There was a question about the deadline for CEPA. We've just agreed on the terms of reference, and we will soon get into detailed discussions. The broad deadline is by the end of the year 2026. So that is something that was agreed on. On investments, Canadian pension funds invest very large amounts in India. The investments by them has crossed over $100 billion. I was sitting next to a Canadian colleague at lunch, and I believe the figure is some $107 billion. So that is something that is interesting for them. There are multiple Canadian pension funds, provincial, federal, etc., and different categories of employees. They see a lot of value in investing in India, given the sustained growth story and also what they see as the outlook for the future. It is something that has worked well for them in the past. They also had, in fact, I understand 30% of their pension fund investments in the Asia Pacific is just in India. And this is obviously a large number, and it shows a lot of commitment to the Indian market. We were also told that they would like the Indian investment market to try and provide benefits that we currently provide for sovereign wealth funds and expand them to pension funds also, and to make India a competitive investment market compared to other financial centers in the region. The Prime Minister said he will look into it and discuss with our team in India and take that on board to see what can be done. You had asked about critical minerals, uranium sourcing. We've seen in the last few months that critical mineral supplies and supply chain linkages have been weaponized and used as sources of leverage. So there is a broad consensus among what the Canadian Prime Minister referred to as middle powers to try and collaborate on various areas where we can work together, make sure our sources are diversified and our interests are protected. So critical minerals clearly falls in that area. He had spoken about price floors for critical minerals, making sure that there is a ready supply available so that our ability to source critical minerals cannot be held hostage by any single power seeking to dominate supplies. And the critical mineral and rare earths cooperation framework will be helpful for diversification and risk management, therefore.
More questions from Prakash?
सर ब्रह्म प्रकाश दुबे जी न्यूज़ से इधर मेरा सवाल है कि आप कह रहे हैं कि संबंध दोनों देशों के नॉर्मल हो रहे हैं, तो खालिस्तानी आतंकवादियों को लेकर लगातार एक लंबी लिस्ट रही है, मांग करते रहे हम लोग, तो जो बातचीत हुई है खालिस्तान आतंकवादियों को लेकर, क्या कोई लिस्ट हमने सौंपी है, कितने अभी वांटेड हैं जो वहाँ पर रह रहे हैं, इसको लेकर क्या कोई कमिटमेंट दिखाया है कनाडा की तरफ से? और दूसरा, बीते कुछ महीनों से लगातार वहाँ हिंदू जो टेम्पल्स हैं उन पर अटैक होते रहे हैं और कई टारगेट पर रहे हैं, तो इसको लेकर कनाडा की तरफ से क्या कहा गया है, क्या भारत ने मामला उठाया है? थैंक यू.
ऋषिकेश.
Sir, Rishikesh from PTI. So, Canada has shown their interest in becoming as a dialogue partner in the IORA. So, is there any plan to hold a naval exercise between the two countries? Because right now we have only multilateral exercise.
Divya.
Sir, Divya from Indian Express. Canada was among the top destinations for Indian students till about 2 years ago, more than 4 lakh, 5 lakh. So, but in the last 2 years, there were a lot of rejections and, there was a cap. You also mentioned there is a move away from, volume-based student mobility to more cooperation. So is there a shift? What are the discussions and, way ahead on this?
Jugal, you had a question?
Hi, sir. This is Jugal from the Collective Newsroom for the BBC. In the statement that Prime Minister Mark Carney has just issued at the conclusion of this visit, he has mentioned that he underscored that Canada will continue to take measures to combat transnational repression. So could you just help us understand how do we see this expression and exactly what was discussed under the aegis of this expression?
Uma.
उमा शंकर सिंह, इंडिपेंडेंट जर्नलिस्ट. मेरा सवाल निज्जर मामले से ही है. हमने देखा कि किस तरीके से जो कनाडा की पिछली सरकार थी उसने जो आरोप लगाए उसको भारत ने बेबुनियाद निराधार बताया. पिछली सरकार से इस सरकार का रुख इस मामले पर किस तरह से अलग है?
You want to ask? You have a question, please.
Sir, this is Vishwadhana from ANI. I have a question regarding the safety and security of Indian students in Canada. We have seen attacks on Indian students. Was this issue discussed between the two leaders? And has there been any assurances given by Canadian Prime Minister?
Sir, we can take these questions. Huh?
I think at least 3 of the questions are related the way I see it. The one on Khalistani extremists, transnational repression, Niger case. I will try and address them together. Let me once again underline that India categorically rejects allegations of involvement in transnational violence or organized crime. These claims are baseless, politically motivated, and unsupported by credible evidence, despite repeated requests. India believes that concerns of this nature must be addressed through credible law enforcement and judicial processes, not through public or politicized narratives. On the Niger case, we understand that the criminal investigation is proceeding as per established legal procedures. I understand the proceedings have entered something called the voir dire phase. And on completion of this stage, it will move to the full jury trial stage, etc. The Canadians have an established legal procedure, and it will proceed as per that procedure. India has consistently maintained its commitment to the judicial process, and we believe that sensitive matters, once again to underline, under judicial consideration, are best allowed to proceed through established legal processes without public commentary.
मैं आपके लिए रूपांतर कर दूंगा बात, ठीक है ना? 10 बार तक.
Sorry. Students' population, you'd asked about it. Prime Minister Carney, again, at least twice in various discussions today, mentioned that there are 400,000 Indian students in Canada studying there, which is twice the number in the US and 4 times the number in UK. There's been a broad popular pressure on politics in Canada that too many foreign students coming into Canada put pressure on the job market, put pressure on infrastructure and other services, citizen services available in Canada. So as part of that, they seem to have moved in a direction where there are restrictions coming in terms of the number of students they are willing to take in the future. I suppose it is up to every country to decide how much student intake their systems can handle, and it is up to them to make an assessment based on their own assessed capacities. So our aim is to try and take the benefit of high quality Canadian educational institutions, find ways to partner with them. Apparently there are multiple partnerships that are envisaged in terms of hybrid campuses. The Prime Minister also invited Canadian universities to set up campuses in India. There are R&D partnerships that are spoken of. So there are these multiple alternate approaches being tried. At some point, if opportunities open up for our youngsters to go back in numbers that are comparable to what we saw in the past, it will be good. I think one approach is also to have a system where semester or semesters abroad can be taken up as part of this educational cooperation. We also understand that Canada is currently undertaking reforms in its visa and immigration policies. Like I said, there is pressure on medical and housing services. But mobility is something both are working on. Like I said, there is an education MoU, and we continue to discuss multiple MoUs that speak of mobility pathways between India and Canada. IORA and defense. Canada wants to be a dialogue partner for IORA. That interest was expressed. It also finds place in the joint statement that we've issued. India has supported that. We think that there is a number of areas in which we can work together with Canada and benefit from their expertise and experience in terms of maritime security, in terms of clean energy experience, sustainable development, and so on. So we think that IORA as an organization will benefit from a partnership with Canada. In terms of defense, there were several points that were mentioned. Prime Minister Carney mentioned that He would welcome deeper defense relations with India through professional military exchanges, joint training opportunities, a new maritime security partnership, defense supply chain resilience, defense material cooperation, and also some kind of a defense industrial partnership, and cyber security, of course. We will be soon initiating a Canada-India defense dialogue at joint secretary level. This will exchange views on respective defense policies, regional and global security developments, and strategic outlooks to identify opportunities. It was also mentioned by Prime Minister Carney that they plan to increase their defense expenditure as a percentage of GDP to align with NATO's new targets. He also particularly noted that they plan to spend about $500 billion over the next decade in the area of upgrading their defense preparedness. He also mentioned that diversification is a priority in terms of defense partnerships and defense procurement. So all these open up good opportunities for India and Canada to work together, be it co-development or co-production, etc. And we think these are areas where the two governments and the private sectors will find opportunities to work together.
Sudhi, you had a question? Please.
Sorry, what did I miss?
Safety of Indian students?
See, our consulates and our High Commission are in touch with our students, our community bodies, etc. And they will take all necessary steps to work with Canadian security agencies and law enforcement to try and provide all possible assistance to students who face any difficulties in Canada.
Okay.
Sir, Shruti Ranjan from Shruti Ranjan from Bloomberg. Just a clarification, sir. In the discussions on the West Asia situation, did any of the leaders refer to or talk about the killing of a head of a state? And did India also brief or give any, understanding about its discussions with Gulf partners that the Prime Minister has had, or Israel? Was any understanding passed over?
Last two questions. Angsha.
So this is Anangsha Mitra. So about a million work permits in Canada are set to expire in this year. So is there any discussion on recruiting skilled Indians? Thank you.
Okay. Neeraj.
सर नमस्कार, मैं नीरज सुबह प्रभा साक्षी से। सर रक्षा उद्योग सहयोग में संयुक्त उत्पादन की बात हुई है, कुछ सहयोग की बात हुई, तो क्या जो संयुक्त उत्पादन और टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफ़र पर भी कुछ बातचीत हुई है? आतंकवाद और उग्रवाद पर सहयोग की बात कही गई है। क्या दोनों देशों ने कोई विशेष तंत्र या कोई संयुक्त कार्यबल बनाने की बात सोची?
Okay, thank you. Sir.
Okay. You asked about Iran again. Prime Minister did mention that he had a conversation late last night with the Prime Minister of Israel and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed of UAE. In addition, the broad discussions, the thrust of the discussions were about how we are all concerned about the escalating situation in Iran, how dialogue and diplomacy should be the norm to resolve all underlying issues, and how there should not be any targeting of civilians who have nothing to do with this. So broadly, that was the thrust of the discussions. There was nothing else very specifically discussed on the kind of points that you are talking about. Let me answer the one on security cooperation first, and then I'll go back to the other questions. आपने पहले भी पूछा था, मैंने पहले भी बताया था इंग्लिश में कि सिक्योरिटी कोऑपरेशन कनाडा और इंडिया के बीच में क्या-क्या एस्पेक्ट्स को कवर करता है। दोनों NSAs के बीच में सिक्योरिटी कोऑपरेशन के ऊपर बात हुई थी, 2 बार हो चुकी हैं, एक बार सितंबर 2025 में और एक बार फरवरी 2026 में, एक बार दिल्ली में और एक बार ओटावा में। सारे जो इनिशिएटिव्स लिए जा रहे हैं सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटीज़ ऑफ द कंट्रीज़ और सिटीजन्स के बीच में, और उनके डायलॉग के बाद जो फंक्शनल लेवल, सीनियर ऑफिशियल लेवल डिस्कशंस हैं और लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज़ के बीच में जो कोऑपरेशन चल रही हैं, RCMP और NIA के बीच में, NIA और IB के बीच में, और डबल 2+2 डायलॉग्स भी चल रहे हैं, NIA और IB ऑन आवर साइड एंड RCMP और CSIS उनकी तरफ से। तो काफ़ी काम चल रही हैं। जो सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज बार बार पहले बात किए गए हैं उनके ऊपर, और जो JWG ऑन काउंटर टेररिज्म है उसमें भी कॉमन इश्यूज़ के ऊपर बात चल रही है। जैसे कि मैंने बताया था, एक्सट्रेडिशन वगैरह कॉन्सुलर डायलॉग मैकेनिज्म में भी डिस्कस किए जा रहे हैं। लिएजन ऑफिसर्स दोनों साइड में अपॉइंट किए जा चुके हैं और वो कोऑर्डिनेट करेंगे फॉलो अप करने के लिए डायलॉग प्रोसेस के बीच में। और ये है कि कंटिन्यूस डायलॉग जारी है और फॉलो अप करते रहेंगे दोनों तरफ से। और साइबर सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज़ और साइबर सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसीज़ के ऊपर भी कोऑपरेशन चल रही है, स्पेशली इमिग्रेशन एनफोर्समेंट और इमिग्रेशन फ्रॉड को एड्रेस करने के लिए। तो उसमें भी काफ़ी पॉजिटिव मूवमेंट हुआ है। Somebody asked about immigration students. Yeah, you were talking about million work permits expiring this year, and how this will affect us, etc. It is natural for various countries to fix their own immigration targets, and we will be closely watching it. So the Canadians also have fixed their own immigration targets. They would like to bring their non-permanent visa holders to be roughly at 5% of their overall population. This is a sovereign issue. They are free to fix the numbers. We will have to try and address the consequences in a way that protects our interests. There is some concern given that large number of Indian nationals will be affected. We will continue to take them up through diplomatic channels and find a solution that is humane and sensitive to their concerns. Defense production, I think I already went into great detail on that. I'm not sure I have anything new to add on defense production.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this press briefing. Thank you.
संयुक्त प्रेस वक्तव्य के लिए।
I welcome you all to this ceremony where we shall witness exchange of several agreements and MoUs. These documents reflect the wide-ranging cooperation as part of India-Brazil strategic partnership. We will begin with exchange of 3 documents, namely the Joint Declaration on Digital Partnership for Future, the MoU on cooperation in areas of rare earths and critical minerals, and the MoU for cooperation in the field of mining for the steel supply chain. These 3 documents will be exchanged by His Excellency Mr. Mauro Vieira, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brazil, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. We next have the MoU for cooperation in the field of postal sector. This MoU will be exchanged by His Excellency Mr. Frederico de Siqueira, Minister of Communications of Brazil, and Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry of India. We now have the MoU for cooperation in MSME, entrepreneurship and crafts. This document will be exchanged by Mr. Marcio Luis Franca Gomez, Minister of State for Entrepreneurship and Micro and Small Enterprises, and Shri Pavitra Margarita, Minister of State for External Affairs of India.
Dubai.
Next, we have the MoU between Brazilian Health Regulatory Agency, Anvisa, and the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization of India. This document will be exchanged between Mr. Leandro Safatle, Director President of Anvisa, and Shri Dinesh Bhatia, Ambassador of India to Brazil. Lastly, we have the following two documents: the MoU on e-certificates of origin under the India-Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement, and the MoU between INPI and CSIR on Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. These two documents will be exchanged between Mr. Marcio Elias Rosa, Deputy Minister of Development, Industry, Commerce and Services of Brazil, and Shri P. Kumaran, Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs of India. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the exchange ceremony. I would like to inform that Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the media in Hindi. Members of the audience may use the audio device provided to listen to the translation in Portuguese language. I now request the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the rest of the proceedings.
Namaskar, good afternoon. Your Excellency, Mr. Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers, members of both delegations, distinguished guests and friends from the media. We will now have the press statements. May I request Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, to give his remarks to the media.
Your Excellency, राष्ट्रपति लूला, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथी, नमस्कार, बोआ तारदे। राष्ट्रपति लूला और उनके डेलीगेशन का भारत में स्वागत करते हुए मुझे अत्यंत प्रसन्नता हो रही है। जिस आत्मीयता और गर्मजोशी के साथ आपने पिछले वर्ष ब्राजील में मेरा स्वागत किया था, आज उसी भाव के साथ भारत का मैं आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं और ये मेरे लिए विशेष संतोष का विषय है। भारत और ब्राजील के संबंधों को राष्ट्रपति लूला की दूरदृष्टि और प्रेरक नेतृत्व का लंबे समय से लाभ मिलता रहा है। बीते कुछ वर्षों में मुझे इनसे कई बार मिलने का सौभाग्य मिला है और हर मुलाकात के दौरान मैंने भारत के प्रति इनकी गहरी मित्रता और विश्वास को महसूस किया है। राष्ट्रपति लूला के इस दौर ने ऐतिहासिक एआई इम्पैक्ट समिट की शोभा भी बढ़ाई और हमारी रणनीतिक साझेदारी को नई ऊर्जा भी दी है। मैं उनकी मित्रता और दोनों देशों के संबंधों के प्रति कमिटमेंट के लिए राष्ट्रपति जी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमारी जो चर्चाएं हुई हैं, उनमें हमने हर क्षेत्र में शेयर्ड पर्पस और शेयर्ड एस्पिरेशन से आगे बढ़ने पर विचार विमर्श किया है। ब्राजील लैटिन अमेरिका में भारत का सबसे बड़ा ट्रेड पार्टनर है। हम आने वाले 5 वर्षों में द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $20 बिलियन के भी आगे ले जाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। हमारा व्यापार केवल आंकड़ा नहीं, विश्वास का प्रतिबिंब है। राष्ट्रपति जी के साथ आया बड़ा बिजनेस डेलीगेशन इसी विश्वास को दिखाता है। भारत मर्कोसुर ट्रेड समझौते के विस्तार से हमारा आर्थिक सहयोग और सुदृढ़ होगा। टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन के क्षेत्र में हमारा सहयोग दोनों देशों के साथ साथ पूरे ग्लोबल साउथ के लिए महत्व रखता है। मुझे खुशी है कि हम ब्राजील में डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस बनाने पर काम कर रहे हैं। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, सुपर कंप्यूटर, सेमीकंडक्टर्स और ब्लॉकचेन जैसे क्षेत्रों में अपने सहयोग को भी हम प्राथमिकता दे रहे हैं। हम दोनों देश मानते हैं कि टेक्नोलॉजी मस्ट बी इंक्लूसिव एंड इट मस्ट बिकम अ ब्रिज फॉर शेयर्ड प्रोग्रेस। ऊर्जा सहयोग हमारे संबंधों का एक मजबूत स्तंभ रहा है। हाइड्रोकार्बन के साथ साथ हम रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, एथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग, सस्टेनेबल एविएशन फ्यूल ऐसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में भी सहयोग को और अधिक गति दे रहे हैं। ग्लोबल बायोफ्यूल अलायंस में ब्राजील की सक्रिय भागीदारी ग्रीन फ्यूचर के प्रति हमारे साझा संकल्प को दर्शाती है। ब्राजील ने कोएलिशन फॉर डिजास्टर रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की सह-अध्यक्षता का भी प्रस्ताव रखा है। मैं इस पहल के लिए राष्ट्रपति लूला का अभिनंदन करता हूं। इस क्षेत्र में ब्राजील का व्यापक अनुभव सीडीआरआई को और सशक्त बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान देगा। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स और रेयर अर्थ में जो समझौता हुआ है, वो रेजिलिएंट सप्लाई चेन्स के निर्माण में एक बहुत बड़ा कदम है। डिफेंस के क्षेत्र में भी हमारा सहयोग निरंतर बढ़ रहा है। ये एक दूसरे के प्रति भरोसे और रणनीतिक तालमेल का बेहतरीन उदाहरण है। हम इस विन विन पार्टनरशिप को आगे भी और मजबूत करते रहेंगे। हम कृषि और पशुपालन क्षेत्र में अपने साझेदारी को भविष्य की जरूरतों के हिसाब से नए आयाम दे रहे हैं। क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट इन एग्रीकल्चर, प्रिसीजन फार्मिंग और बायो फर्टिलाइजर जैसे क्षेत्रों में हमारा सहयोग दोनों देशों की फूड सिक्योरिटी को मजबूत करेगा। ब्राजील में ऑयल सीड्स, पल्सीज और इंटीग्रेटेड फार्मिंग के लिए सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस इसी दिशा में एक अहम पहल होने वाली है। हेल्थ और फार्मा के क्षेत्र में भी सहयोग की अपार संभावनाएं हैं। हम भारत से ब्राजील को एफोर्डेबल और क्वालिटी मेडिसिन की आपूर्ति बढ़ाने पर काम करेंगे। साथ ही ब्राजील में आयुर्वेद और ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन का भी विस्तार किया जाएगा ताकि होलिस्टिक हेल्थ केयर को बढ़ावा मिले। फ्रेंड, वैश्विक मंच पर भारत और ब्राजील की साझेदारी सशक्त और प्रभावशाली रही है। लोकतांत्रिक देशों के रूप में हम ग्लोबल साउथ की प्राथमिकताओं और आकांक्षाओं को आगे बढ़ाते रहेंगे। When India and Brazil work together, the voice of global south becomes stronger and more confident. हमारा मानना है कि हर समस्या का समाधान डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी के माध्यम से होना चाहिए। भारत और ब्राजील एक मत है कि आतंकवाद और उसके समर्थक पूरी मानवता के शत्रु हैं। हम इस बात पर भी सहमत हैं कि वर्तमान समय की चुनौतियों से निपटने के लिए वैश्विक संस्थानों का रिफॉर्म अत्यंत आवश्यक है। हम इस दिशा में भी मिलकर प्रयास करते रहेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आपकी यह यात्रा हमारी रणनीतिक साझेदारी को और गहराई देगी और आने वाले वर्षों में सहयोग के नए आयाम स्थापित करेगी। मैं एक बार फिर आपकी यात्रा और आपकी गहरी मित्रता के लिए हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं तो ओब्रिगादो।
Thank you, sir. May I now request His Excellency Mr. Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, to give his remarks to the media.
Excelentíssimo senhor Primeiro-Ministro da República da Índia, Narendra Modi, amigos ministros da Índia, amigos e amigas ministros e ministras do Brasil, meu caro amigo.
And my dear friend Modi, it is a reason of happiness for me to return to this country for the 6th time. The meeting between India and Brazil is a meeting of superlatives. We are not just the two biggest democracies of the global south. This is a meeting of the world's pharmacy with the world's barn, and a digital superpower with a renewable energy superpower. We are both mega diverse countries and hubs of of the cultural industry, and we both defend multilateralism and peace. The invitation by Prime Minister Modi for this state visit and also to attend the AI Impact Summit shows the synchrony and mutual trust that binds us together. A few months ago, in July last year, I had the honor of hosting my friend Modi in Brasilia. His visit was a milestone. On that occasion, we restructured the bilateral cooperation agenda in 5 areas: defense and security, food and nutritional security, energy transition and climate change, digital transformation and emerging technologies, and industrial partnerships in strategic areas. Today, in Delhi, in the year when we celebrate 20 years of the establishment of the Brazil-India strategic partnership, we are going into action. Therefore, the preparation of this visit involved the visit of my Vice President, Geraldo Alckmin, and a business delegation last year. Also, involved the early arrival of many ministers and 300 business people this week. We signed several agreements that provide concrete quality to our cooperation in these areas. It is notable the Indian evolution in cutting-edge sectors such as information technology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and space exploration. They create a lot of cooperation opportunities with Brazil. And this translates our commitment with an agenda that places technology at the service of inclusive development, increasing investment and cooperation in matters of renewable energies and critical minerals is at the core of the pioneering agreement that we have signed today. At the level of the Global Biofuel Alliance, our countries are securing the due place for this technology in the climate agenda and global energy agenda. The establishing of synergies between the industrial hubs of health for our countries is also a central part of the bilateral cooperation. India and Brazil work side by side and have done so for decades in defending equal access to medication, above all generic medication, and also for health sovereignty at the World Health Organization. In this visit, Fiocruz has signed several agreements for research and local production of strategic inputs such as vaccine for tuberculosis and oncologic medications, immunosuppressors, and for neglected and rare diseases. There is also a great potential for cooperation in the area of smart hospitals, such as the hospital that Minister Padilla visited in Bangalore 2 days ago. In the area of defense, our aeronautic industry has been strengthening its presence in India, as it can be seen by the opening of the Embraer office in Delhi. The trilateral agreement between Mazagon Dock and the Indian and Brazilian navies is going to be part of the maintenance activities for submarines of the Scorpion class and other military vessels. All of these efforts will help for us to reach the target that Prime Minister Modi and I agreed on last year of increasing our trade flow to $20 billion by 2030. In 2025, bilateral flow surpassed $15 billion for the first time in history, a growth of 25% in relation to 2024. We are moving forward so fast that we should revisit our goal of reaching 30 billion in exchange by 2025. And then depending on the Brazilian business delegation that actually came to India, we are going to continue with this bilateral relationship. The agreement to increase the validity of tourism and business visas to 5 to 10 years is an initial step to facilitate and increase the flow of people between our countries. In the same way, the Brazil-India Economic Forum will gather about 600 representatives from the private sectors from both countries, looking for the many business opportunities. As a reply to the trade unilateralism, Mercosur, as well as India, recently concluded a free trade agreement with the European Union. Therefore, it is more than natural that Mercosur and India work so as to increase significantly the preferential trade agreement which we already have in force amongst us. My friends, a turbulent global scenario requires our countries to strengthen and deepen our strategic dialogue. I hosted the presidency of the G20 in Prime Minister Modi in 2024. I've received the presidency from him, and this year, India received from Brazil the presidency of BRICS. This presidency flow between our countries is extremely beneficial to the interests of the global South. India and Brazil are crucial voices at the UN, at the WTO and G20. We are partners in building a multilateral governance which is more just, peaceful, governed by international law. Prime Minister Modi and I talked at length about how we can persevere the paths to peace. There is no possibility of having a fair, sustainable development in a conflicted world. As stated by Prime Minister Modi at the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, it is impossible for us to run a 21st century software in old typewriters from the 20th century. We emphasize our commitment with the UN reform, particularly of the Security Council, so that it may represent the interests from Global South and that have Brazil and India as natural candidates. Here it is important to remind the Indian and Brazilian press that for over 20 years, Brazil, India, Japan and Germany set up a group called G4, where we defend the increase of the UN Security Council, which is something that hasn't happened until now, but will definitely happen soon, because the UN needs more representation. The UN needs to have the force, the strength to interfere in the conflicts that we see throughout the world today. And if it is, a body that doesn't operate, this will not survive. So we're going to continue to fight for the UN to be more representative with more countries throughout the world and more, Brazil and India as members of the Permanent Security Council. Increasing the categories of permanent and non-permanent members is an essential condition to provide legitimacy and efficacy to global governance amidst so many challenges. We support the efforts for the end of the war in the Ukraine. It is also urgent, important to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. Brazil has really repudiated the attacks in Kashmir. We know that terrorism is not associated to any religion or nationality. Also, it cannot be confused as public security challenges that many countries face. These are different phenomena, and that should not be used as an excuse for intervention at the margin of international law. I reaffirm to Prime Minister Modi that Brazil is committed to maintaining, keeping South America as a zone of peace. After all, the only wars that humanity should engage in is the wars against hunger, poverty, and environmental degradation. This state visit provides a new chapter for a long journey of bilateral cooperation between Brazil and India. My dear friend Modi, I would like to finish by saying to you, sir, that I am completely sure that the eyes of Brazil towards India is one of very hopeful eyes. In India, we have a country of a lot of similarities. Despite the difference in the number of inhabitants, we have very similar problems. Our scientific and technological knowledge, they are close. And if we work together, we are going to strengthen Brazil-India bilateral relation. We're going to strengthen our relation with the Mercosur, and we're going to strengthen the global South so that we never, ever again are faced with a Cold War between, two big superpowers. Thank you very much.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude this press statement. Thank you very much for your presence.
Muito bem, Gabriel. Não jogue fora.
और जो इसके बाद हम देख रहे हैं क्नेसेट की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जिस तरह से लोग मिल रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री को, अभी का जो
तुझे
दृश्य
आपको रोकना चाहेंगे, सीधे दृश्य क्नेसेट से।
נא לשבת.
חברות וחברי הכנסת, אני מתכבד לפתוח את הישיבה המיוחדת של הכנסת לכבוד ראש ממשלת הודו, מר נרנדרה מודי. ראש הממשלה חבר הכנסת בנימין נתניהו ורעייתו שרה. שרות ושרים, חברות וחברי הכנסת בעבר ובהווה, מהקואליציה ומהאופוזיציה, External Affairs Minister Dr. S.J. Shankar, National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval, Foreign Secretary Mr. Vikram Misri, Ambassador of India to Israel J.P. Singh, Ambassador, yes, Ambassador of Israel to India, Reuven Azar. Members of the distinguished delegation, members of Israel's senior state leadership, heads of foreign missions to Israel, Mankal HaKnesset, Moshe Chiko Edri, מזכיר הכנסת דן מרזוק, היועצת המשפטית לכנסת עורכת הדין שגית אפיק, חברי הנהלת הכנסת, אורחים נכבדים מקהילות יוצאי הודו בישראל, distinguished guests, it is our profound honor to welcome the leader of the world's largest democracy and a leader that defining statesman of our time, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India, His Excellency Narendra Modi. Namaste. For Prime Minister Modi, leadership is not merely the administration of a state, but the inspiration of a nation, a huge nation. Guided by that conviction, he has transformed India. He reshaped the landscape in public health, industry, agriculture, and infrastructure. He ignited a digital revolution and drove historic advances in economic improvement and inclusion. He made India the fastest growing major economy on earth, lifting hundreds of millions of lives. In doing so, he gave new meaning to the words Jai Hind, long live India. For over 2 millennia, India gave Jews a home and, in our darkest hours, a refuge. India's ancient Jewish communities helped build this land and this country and continue to enrich it with India's culture, cuisine, and warmth. Diplomatic relations were established early, but it was the two prime ministers, Modi and Netanyahu, who forged a true strategic partnership. In 2017, our guest made history as the first Prime Minister of India to visit Israel. I was honored at Prime Minister Netanyahu's invitation to meet him as a Knesset freshman. Today, it is my great privilege as Speaker of the Knesset to welcome him as the first Prime Minister of India to address the Knesset and to make history once again. Thank you, Prime Minister Modi. Between these milestones, cooperation has deepened across every field, most notably in security and technology. As you, Prime Minister, said, technology yields its greatest benefit when shared. In that spirit, our nations are invaluable assets to one another. כשנבחרתי לתפקיד יושב ראש הכנסת הונחו לפני הצעות לבחירת יעדים לביקור המדיני הראשון. כשביקשתי לדעת באילו מדינות לא ביקר מעולם יושב ראש כנסת, הופתעתי לגלות כי הודו היא אחת מהן. הבחירה על כן הייתה קלה, והקמתי משלחת לביקור המדיני בהשתתפות חברי הכנסת עמית הלוי מהקואליציה ומיכאל ביטון מהאופוזיציה, מובילי קבוצת הידידות בכנסת. With my dear friend and esteemed counterpart, Om Birla, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, we signed the first ever MoU between our parliaments. Over the course of my visit, I encountered a great civilization, a thriving democracy, and a people of remarkable dignity and resolve. החברות בין שתי האומות שלנו עמדה במבחן המאבק המשותף שלנו בטרור. לאחר טבח 7 באוקטובר, ראש הממשלה מודי היה מהמנהיגים הראשונים שגינו את זוועות החמאס ועמדו באחווה לצידם של אזרחי ישראל. ממש כפי שאנחנו עמדנו לצידה של הודו בשעותיה הקשות לאחר פיגוע הטרור במומבאי ב-2008 ובפלגם בשנה שעברה. שני העמים שלנו נאלצים להילחם בטרור, ושניהם, בעזרת השם, ימשיכו לנצח. Next week, the Jewish holiday of Purim and the Indian holiday of Holi will coincide. Colors will fill the air as both our nations celebrate light's triumph over darkness. Both our peoples will proclaim the same timeless truth. Hope always prevails. Prime Minister, you are, as King David was, both statesman and poet. In your poem, Ash, Hope, you describe it as a flame that bursts forth to sear the darkness with its might. That flame burns in the Psalms of King David too. Kaveh el Adonai, chazek ve'yametz libecha, kaveh el Adonai. Hope in the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Hope in the Lord. Our national anthem is called Hatikva, the hope. Mr. Prime Minister, you have called the India-Israel relationship a partnership of hope. From Hatikva to Asha, hope is the hallmark of our bond. Since last night, Prime Minister, the Knesset building has been illuminated in the colors of India. May the light that unites Jerusalem and New Delhi illuminate our nation's future. Mr. Prime Minister, a Jerusalem main apka swagate, Knesset main apka swagate. Welcome to Jerusalem, welcome to the Knesset. חברות וחברי הכנסת, אני מתכבד כעת להזמין את ראש הממשלה, חבר הכנסת בנימין נתניהו, לשאת דברים. בבקשה, אדוני ראש הממשלה.
אדוני היושב-ראש, חברות וחברי הכנסת, you know, heads of state, prime ministers, they come to the Knesset, we greet them warmly, and it's always an exciting moment. For all of us, and for me too. But I have to tell you, Narendra, my dear friend, I am deeply, deeply moved by your visit here today, because I have to be diplomatic, I will not rank it, because I'll get into trouble. But I've never been more moved